as the flowers rest on the decorated graves,
and the sunlight shines on the beautiful sailboats,
Uncle Sam whispers in my ear
about how we should care for our military and remember the ones
that have died.
Swimming pools open,
Barbecues fried.
Today is the day to think of what they have done for us.
There are blurs of red, white, and blue
Marching down the street.
And flags are lowered at half-mast.
But we should always remember
And never forget
what set us free from this very day on.
Yet another sellout crowd on hand at Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati as we remember those who fought, served, and died for our country on this Memorial Day 2013. And the Reds get together for the first of what will be 4 straight games, hosting for the first 2 their in-state rivals, the Cleveland Indians. And a happy Memorial Day, everybody, for all of those who served. We remember you. We say thank you. Alongside Chris Welsh, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome to Reds baseball. A tough loss here yesterday, but now right back at it against a Cleveland team having a very good year. Only a game and a half out of first. That's where the Reds are. But, of course, these two teams linked together not only in state, Chris, but the 3-way deal which brought Sin-Soo Choo here and sent Drew Stubbs to Northern Ohio.
Oh, what even makes it more interesting is that they share the same spring training complex. So the eyes have been on these two players right from the very beginning of February, really, when the teams began to report down there in Goodyear, Arizona. Right now, if you just simply take a look at the numbers, Drew Stubbs and Sin-Soo Choo, Choo's had the advantage. He's coming back down to earth a little bit after being a monster on base percentage guy and a home run hitter in the first month of the year. But still in all, Choo is manning center field. Drew Stubbs is in right field. Choo is batting first for the Reds. Drew Stubbs is batting 8th. And that should really tell you about where that comparison is.
And for both of these guys, locking up against their former teams here today.
Just exciting, you know. I missed them, you know. I have a really good experience, 6 years playing the Indians. So, but game start with different teams. But you know, yeah, I can't wait.
It's a little different for me. I'm not gonna lie, coming in and being on the other side and you know, looking across at a lot of your friends and former teammates. But you know, at the end of the day, it's 2 more games on the schedule that we're gonna try to come in here and win.
Should be fun to watch today. You know those two are fired up. We know you're fired up. 4 straight days of sellout crowds here at Great American Ballpark as we celebrate Memorial Day. We'll talk about the pitching matchup when we return.
All right, we are looking at the Reds and Indians.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
All right, we are looking at the Reds and Indians today, and we're talking about dry conditions for the start of this game. We'll be in the low 70s here for the first pitch. By the end of the game, we're into the upper 70s. The chance for rain will grow as we get into the end of the game. Let's hope that rain holds off for this game today. Enjoy it right here on Fox Sports Ohio.
Indeed we will. What a beautiful day it is. Ubaldo Jimenez will get the ball for Cleveland against Mike Leake on a pretty good roll right now for the Reds.
You're not kidding about that. Mike Leake coming off a very good outing his last time out against the New York Mets of 7 innings of 3 hits shutout baseball. Jimenez is a guy who has pitched very well on the road for the Indians this year. He's up and down. He's like one of those boxes of chocolates. You're not really sure what you get when you open up the top with Ubaldo Jimenez. Tremendous stuff, but not always does he take it to the mound every time out.
So leading up to the first pitch, many of the Reds will share some of their thoughts as we celebrate this Memorial Day all over the United States of America.
On April 6, 2012, 3 Ohio Army National Guardsmen lost their lives in Afghanistan when they were attacked by a suicide bomber. Today I remember Sergeant First Class Sean Hannon of Grove City, Captain Nicholas Rosansky of Dublin, and Sergeant First Class Jeffrey Rick of Upper Arlington.
Temperatures in the low 70s, not a cloud in the sky, and the 4th consecutive sellout on this homestand. Terry Francona, all the great years in Boston, a pair of World Series titles there. Now in his first season as manager of the Indians. And his lineup has Michael Bourne, Jason Kipnis, Asdrubal Cabrera, Nick Swisher, Carlos Santana, Mark Reynolds in the middle, and a latter third of Michael Brantley, the former Red Drew Stubbs, and Ubaldo Jimenez. So we are set to go. Michael Bourne signed as a free agent right during spring training. Looks at ball 1, and we are underway. Bourne having an excellent start to this year. .314 batting. 8 stolen bases in 10 attempts. They're in on the corners, Frazier and Votto. And it's a ball and a strike.
Yeah, the thing about Michael Bourne is you see him in the leadoff spot, you remind yourself that he's a leadoff hitter and not necessarily a leadoff walker. He doesn't take a lot of walks. His on-base percentage really predicated by how well he hits.
Breaking ball on the outside corner, strike. Leake comes in, as Chris mentioned a moment ago, on one of the best 2-start stretches of his very young major league career. He is not allowed a run in either of his last 2 outings. See his overall numbers today. His 10th start, a sparkling 3.25 ERA. Two and two to Boyd. Struck him out to begin the game. Take a look at the Reds defensively behind Leake today. Brought to you by your Ford dealers. Former Indian Shin-Soo Choo, flanked by Paul and Bruce, the regular gang along the infield. Devin Mesoraco hanging the signs for Mike Leake. Those two are working together very, very well.
Well, they have been a tandem all year long. Dusty Baker's made sure that Leake and Mesoraco are the 2 battery guys when Leake takes the mound, and it's worked very well. You know, you work with the guy long enough, you begin to read his mind.
Ball one outside to Jason Kipnis. Kipnis has been red hot in the month of May after a very bad month of April. 8 home runs, 25 runs batted in. Swung on and fouled off out of plate, even the count of a ball and a strike. This Indians team began the season, first couple of weeks sort of limped along. Then all of a sudden they caught fire. And up until really the last week, they have been among the best teams in all of Major League Baseball. In fact, you go back to April the 20th, only the Cardinals, the Pirates, and the Reds, among all teams in baseball, have a better winning percentage than these Cleveland Indians. Down low, 3 balls and a strike.
Well, the Indians score a lot of runs, and one reason why is because they've got a very balanced lineup of lefties and righties. They've got 3 switch hitters right in the middle of the lineup, so it really doesn't matter whether you go to the bullpen and bring a lefty in or not. You still have somebody who's going to have to face the opposite hitter.
Ball drilled to straightaway center field. Chu able to get turned correctly to make the play. 2 out. Talk about this being a streaky bunch. You look through the first 20 games and they began 4 games under. Then ripped off an 18-5 mark over the next 23. And we mentioned last week they've stumbled around a bit.
Yeah, unfortunately for the Indians, and particularly in person Terry Francona, that stumble happened in Boston when he went back to play in Fenway Park. They were leading in 2 of the 3 games. They ended up blowing the leads, losing those games, and heading out of town really with their tails between their legs.
And in yesterday's game, their closer Chris Perez blew the save and then went on the disabled list following the game. So they're not quite sure who will serve as their closer for the time being. That ball shot hard down the left field line, and that is a foul ball off the bat of Asdrubal Cabrera. And a nice play by that fan in foul ground. That's going to get it right there.
It's a barehanded catch,
yeah.
Right? Nice going.
Cabrera, 2-time American League All-Star. A season ago led All-American League shortstops in on-base percentage, slugging percentage, played on the Venezuelan team during the WBC, and if he can't find a hole down the left field line, he'll bang it into right. And this will be a 2-out double for Cabrera.
Cabrera, one of those rare instances where you have your shortstop batting in the number 3 spot. Very versatile player. He's one of the switch hitters that I talked about earlier. He goes switch, switch, switch the next 3 guys, and he's got power to all fields and keeps the Indians alive here with 2 outs.
A homecoming for Nick Swisher, beating the Buckeye State. Grew up in West Virginia. Dad, of course, you knew very well. Steve Swisher played at Ohio University, played many, many years in the major leagues. And then Nick grew up in West Virginia, but went to college at The Ohio State University.
Well, it's been a big week for Nick. He had his first baby born this week. We congratulate Nick and Joanna, the birth of Emma J, their first baby. I know I talked to Steve Swisher, his dad, this morning, and man, you talk about a proud granddaddy. He's grinning from ear to ear.
Well, his son is quite the character.
And so is his dad, believe me.
Indeed. pulled foul. You look up on that scoreboard in left center field and you see the picture they have up there of Nick Swisher, and that's pretty much what you see morning, noon, and night when he's not between those white lines. He's a fun guy to be around.
He was one of the big free agent purchases that the Indians made over the winter in an attempt to remake this ball club and do it in a hurry. And it has worked. As you said, their second 20 or so games that they played have been outstanding baseball.
A couple of guys they went out and paid the big bucks for. Swisher, Michael Bourne, very late. Just before spring training, as Mesoraco will visit the mound. Mark Reynolds was a nice acquisition. A guy who, you know, we've seen Chris at times, if he's in a good groove, I mean, he can just wear you out over a 3 or 4 game series. There are other times he's doing a lot of swinging and missing.
Well, you know, a lot of people looked at his Indians roster. Nick Swisher has a reputation of being a guy that swings and misses a lot, and you'd think that they would strike out a lot more than they have, but they've been very good about making contact.
0-2. There goes a runner. Pitch taken, and Mesoraco dropped the ball.
Now, that was stolen on the pitcher right there. Anytime you've got 2 outs and a guy feels good enough about his chances of making third base that he decides to steal third, he feels like he's getting a big jump, getting a jump on the infielders, getting a jump on the pitcher. Sometimes it may have been a blessing right there. They dropped the ball.
So now Leake works out of the regular windup. And the 1-2 on Nick Swisher is on the ground at Brandon Phillips. Down on one knee to make sure in a scoreless opening inning. The Reds come to bat when we return. Truck in America, 36 straight years by Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Book your stay at CincinnatiUSA.com and by Skyline Chili. Feeling good. It's Skyline time. Battle of Ohio on this Memorial Day 2013. Reds order looks like this: Chu, Cozart, Votto, Phillips, Bruce, and Frazier. A latter third of Xavier, Paul, Devin, Mesoraco, and Mike Leake. At one time, it looked like Ubaldo Jimenez would be one of the great pitchers for many, many years. He's never been the same since 2010.
Well, that was the year in which he made his postseason debut. He pitched a no-hitter against the Atlanta Braves that year. Was also an all-star. For a young man whose fastball has reached 99 to 100 miles an hour on a regular basis, he's never really kind of followed through on all the promise that people thought that he had. Could be the innings that he had at Coors Field that wore him out, but one thing he does this year, he throws a lot of pitches in very few innings.
Former Indian Shin Soo Choo takes up and in ball one. Paul Schreiber, the home plate umpire today. Chad Fairchild at first, Jeff Kellogg at second, and Eric Cooper, the umpire, at third. Choo has hit his first extended slump of this first season as a Red. He had that little mini slump when the team was down in Florida, and then he caught fire again, but now has slowed down significantly. And for Clark, he did not have a hit during the entire series against the Cubs. And you see the numbers for Choo in the month of May. 337 in the opening month. In the air, hit well. Into left field, that ball will carry out of here. A home run, his first at bat against the Indians. Well, you know he's got to be mighty excited with that.
Well, he shows power to all fields, and this one says, hey, hi, hello, and welcome, Cleveland to Cincinnati. He goes the opposite field. Votto Jimenez, meanwhile, on the mound watching. And he cannot believe that that ball carried out of here. He looked back at his catcher, Carlos Santana, with a look of disbelief. So when you get a visiting pitcher that feels like that about the ballpark they pitch in, all of a sudden they begin to nibble a little bit more, not become as aggressive because they're afraid that that left field wall is just right over their shoulder.
Two years in a row in 2010 and 2011. Jimenez, the opening day starter for the Colorado Rockies after winning 15 games in 2009. But boy, that 2010 year. Chris talked about the no-hitter, was a starter for the National League in that All-Star game. Won 19 games with an ERA at 2.8. And the Indians felt like they were really hitting the lottery a year later when they made the deal to get him. Well, they did not hit the lottery. He went 9-17 a season ago.
Yeah, and they gave up a lot of young prospects at the time. A lot of people thought the Indians were crazy to give up so much good young talent in order to get Jimenez. They thought that he would be the ace of aces. And they really thought they were trading for Justin Verlander at the time. And Jimenez looked like that type of a pitcher. But if you watch his delivery, I mean, to me, from a pitching standpoint, he's just got so many moving parts. He's so long. Right from the very beginning, when he gets his arms over his head, everything is long and slow and sometimes awkward. And it doesn't take very much for a guy that has that many moving parts to have one thing out of kilter. And now you find yourself not being able to hit your zone.
And 2 on Zach Cozart after the home run by Choo to begin the game, and there's ball 4, and Jimenez does a lot of that. His 23rd walk of the season. Take a look at the Indians defensively, presented by your Ford dealers. Michael Brantley, Michael Bourne, Drew Stubbs in the outfield. Mark Reynolds, Cabrera, Kipnis, and Swisher along the infield third to first. Jimenez and Carlos Santana, the batter. First of 4 games in 4 days between these in-state rivals. 2 games here in Cincinnati, day game today, night game tomorrow night, then back-to-back night games in Cleveland on Wednesday and Thursday. Strike 1 to Joey Votto. Jimenez has never lost to the Reds in 5 career starts. 3-0 record, ERA very good. Fractionally above 3, and has been outstanding in this ballpark. 2 starts, 14 innings, only 2 runs allowed. Last 14 games, Votto better than a .450 batter, and in those 14 games has scored 17 and knocked in 10.
A ball and 2 strikes.
Now, when you watch Jimenez play, and the Reds are very full aware of this, that, you know, in 2010, when he was an all-star, his average fastball, his 4-seamer, was over 96 miles an hour as an average. Now he's down around 91, 91 and a half. When you lose 5 miles on your fastball, and really all you are is a power pitcher and not a location guy, that's when you start to get hit a little bit. Here's what I'm talking about: the reduction in that fastball speed over the years. And that's an awful big drop off for a young man who's only 29 years old.
Bottom fell out of that pitch, and that strikes out Votto, and boy, is he hot.
Now it's a changeup that he chased down in the dirt, and you rarely see Votto chase a pitch down out of the zone this much. That ball nearly hit the plate.
One in, 1 on, 1 out, and here is Brandon Phillips. 8 home runs, a whopping 42 runs batted in. Phillips, a couple of times in his career, has knocked in 90 or more runs in a season, has never reached 100.
I'll answer your question, Tom, before you ask it. The answer is yes, you can run on Jimenez. 6 successful, only 1 thrown out.
See, we've been together long enough now where you're starting to act like my wife.
Oh.
You answer questions
Well, you know
before I ever ask them, and you know what?
I find that a compliment.
It is a compliment.
All right, when you get done with the game, I want you to wash my car.
Well, unlike Ian Kennedy, I'm not going to come wash your dishes. After that story that landed the Arizona ace on the disabled list, suffering a laceration on his finger, apparently a very bad one, while washing dishes at home.
Can be dangerous. That's why I try to refrain from it as much as possible.
It's one of my jobs around the house. But a cut finger won't slow us down from calling the game. It's not a good thing when you're a pitcher.
No, it's not.
An Arizona team having a nice start to this season. A tightly bunched National League West. Arizona and the Giants tied for first with Colorado 1 game back going into play today. They're playing a rare scheduled doubleheader today, Arizona, against the Texas Rangers. Can't remember the last scheduled doubleheader.
Now, we're not talking about a day-night doubleheader, are we?
No.
Just a regular scheduled doubleheader. I like it.
2-1 the count on Brandon Phillips.
Now, speaking of cut fingers, my first ever big league camp with the New York Yankees was down in Fort Lauderdale. I packed all my fishing gear, and the night before I was supposed to show up for the first time in a big league Yankee uniform, I reached into my bag, cut my finger on a fillet knife, had to go to the manager, Bob Lemon, and say I can't pitch. Ooh. That was not a good thing.
No.
So I can sympathize, Ian Kennedy. I'm with you.
So were you immediately out of any kind of hopeful good graces with Bob Lemon from that moment on?
Well, fortunately, you know, we reported to camp probably February 10th, and the season was, they were going to break camp until around April 1st, so I had enough time to recover. And I wasn't going to make that team anyway, but I wanted that big league meal money for as long as I could get it.
3-1. And this should be 2. And it is. Reds don't start the runner on a 3-1 count. And a double play ends the inning. Shin-Soo Choo with a home run. Reds in front 1-0. Catch on Sunday, July the 7th, a unique opportunity to play catch right on the field following the Reds and the Mariners. And you'll get 2 authentic batting practice used baseballs and 2 commemorative certificates. For more information, go to reds.com/catch. And remember, all proceeds benefit the Reds Community Fund. Oh, what a glorious Memorial Day here in Cincinnati. Second time, hard to believe. This is only the second time since the Reds moved down to the riverfront, leaving Crosley Field to Riverfront Stadium in 1970, where the Reds have sold out 4 consecutive home games. And that was done the very first year of this ballpark, when the Rangers and Pirates were in for back-to-back 2-game series. Over 122,000 for the 3-game series against the Cubs, and another sellout crowd here today. Reds lead 1-0. Carlos Santana down a couple of strikes. He leads off the Indians' 2nd inning, to be followed by Mark Reynolds and Michael Brantley. Tell you what, you look up and down this lineup. You brought it up earlier, Chris. As Santana's gone on strike, 2nd of the game by Mike Leake. This is a good-looking lineup.
Well, the Reds recently have played some really offensively challenged teams. The Miami Marlins, they saw them a couple of times early on. We've seen the Cubs, who are not scoring a lot of runs, and Mets have had their problems scoring runs and so on. So, you know, kind of get used to this pitching staff just blowing right through the opposition. Might not be as easy here in these next 4 games. You got 2 here, 2 in Cleveland. This ball club has got power through and through.
Mark Reynolds as much pure power as any batter in all of Major League Baseball. This guy hit a pile of home runs wearing an Arizona Diamondbacks uniform up until they traded him prior to last year, where he spent in Baltimore.
Well, he doesn't get cheated. I mean, you watch this guy take a hack, and I mean, it is full out every time he cuts it loose.
8th most home runs in all of baseball over the last 5 years for Mark Reynolds, 164 of them. And Leake has fallen behind 3-0.
Now, Reynolds has been pretty good up there and patient against Mike Leake. Leake trying to make him swing at some of those teasing breaking balls early in the count.
Reynolds, a former teammate of Ryan Zimmerman, 3rd baseman for the Washington Nationals. Both played collegiately at the University of Virginia. Now the 3-1 pitch. Swing and a miss. Rio goes to 3-2, and that's all she wrote for Reynolds.
A real good job of coming back for Mike Leake. He goes down 3 balls, no strikes, and then throws 3 consecutive pitches. 1 fastball, 2 cutters, and that cutter just didn't sink very much, and Reynolds is right underneath it with the swing. I love that slow-mo. Brought to you today by Performance Honda.
Now Michael Brantley. Brantley is hit near the top of the batting order the last number of years, but the way they've rearranged this lineup, he's now in that 7 hole and having a good year. This guy's a nice player. 309 batter, 2 home runs, 24 runs batted in. And it will be a 1-2-3 2nd inning for Mike Leake. Reds lead, coming to bat last in the 2nd. 1-0. Facing his old team, you can use Game Connect and chat with a Hall of Famer Hal McCoy during every game, and also during every game at GABP. The Reds honor a hometown hero. Kevin Goheen writes a very special story on one of them. It's all brought to you by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO. Drive safe, spend less. Great to have you with us on this Monday afternoon. We hope you're having a great Memorial Day weekend and a happy Memorial Day to everyone out there. Reds with a 1-0 lead on a leadoff home run in the first inning by the former Indian Shin-Soo Choo. Our hometown hero announced to the crowd a standing ovation a moment ago. Senior airman Nathan Reiser, a veteran of multiple deployments in Afghanistan. Great to have him with us as a hometown hero indeed. Bruce gone on 3 pitches to begin the second inning. A little more giddy up on that fastball at 93.
Well, they set him up with a previous pitch changeup right there. It looks like little by little Jimenez is getting that fastball back in a more respectable area, at least as far as his velocity goes. He can be a very imposing guy out there, 6'5", and when he was dialing it up at 100 miles an hour, there weren't too many good swings taken against him.
Well, Todd Frazier starting to come around a little bit after a lengthy slump, a 5-game hitting streak, and over his last 8 games he's hit in 7 of them at a .385 clip.
And I think anecdotally, he's hit the ball harder than those numbers would show, too. I mean, he's hit a lot of balls right at somebody.
Those are the numbers during the current 5-game hit streak. Boy, you're not lying. He had a tough luck series at Philadelphia last weekend. I mean, hit rocket after rocket, but right at people. Three and 1 to Frazier. And there's ball 4, and that's walk number 2 to go along with 2 strikeouts. I think Jimenez
looked right there by Jimenez into Paul Schreiber. He looked at the home plate umpire and said, "Where was that 3-1 pitch?" Now they're pitching him down and away, as you see, and you know the way you read that box is that if that yellow ball that indicates the ball is touching the box at all, it doesn't have to be inside the strike zone, it just has to be touching the strike zone, as in the seams of the ball on the outside corner. That constitutes a strike. The whole ball doesn't have to be over the plate. Of course, that box, our Fox Tracks, is an estimate.
Xavier Paul at .253, a pair of home runs and 14 runs batted in. Paul 1 of 5 during the Cubs series, scored a couple of runs and knocked in a run. Runner going, and it's shot into left field, a base hit, and Frazier will slam on the brakes as Brantley gets to it quickly in left field.
Well, Dusty Baker decides to put the runner in motion. It really takes the pressure off the hitter, because now the only thing that Xavier Paul has to do is put the ball in play somewhere, preferably on the ground, but he goes the other way with it. Nice controlled swing there, and the Reds have reached 2 now with 1 out.
Kevin Mesoraco becomes a very important batter here early in this game, already with a 1-0 lead. The pitcher waiting on deck, although no ordinary hitting pitcher is Mike Lee. 2 on, 1 out. Mesoraco, a pair of home runs and 12 runs knocked in. Ball 1.
Now, Mesoraco did not play at all during that Chicago Cubs series. He caught the last couple of games in New York. He caught Mike Leake in the second last game in New York, and then he caught Matt Latos in that Reds 7-4 victory.
Good breaking ball there, sharply catching the outside corner. Two on, one out. 1-2 on Mesoraco. Fooled him badly. 3 strikeouts in the game now, and the pitcher league coming up. Well, you know the drill for Red. It's a home run off the Toyota sign during our game. Melinda Neltner of Erlanger, Kentucky, will win the new Tundra on display here at Great American Ballpark, and you can register for your chance to win it at an upcoming game. All you have to do is visit your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky dealer. So now Mike Leake, 5 hits and 23 at bats, and that ball all the way to the screen. That'll be a wild pitch on Jimenez. Frazier to third and Paul to second. Well, Leake looking down to Chris Beyer, and Chris Beyer not even looking back at it. Frazier will be alive down there at third should Jimenez bounce another one up there. And a slow roller to short. Cabrera throws out Leake, inning over. Reds strand 2, end of 2. Reds 1, Indians nothing. Elk Serious Lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Now these are records at home here in Cincinnati against the Indians. First number of years it was a struggle, scoring less than 4 runs per game and giving up better than 5. But last number of years, winning 12 out of 16, scoring and not giving up very many.
Wouldn't you say that's really just a change in the way these two ball clubs have played overall in the years? I mean, there was a time that you play the Indians. I mean, back when they were seemingly the American League Central champs year in and year out, man, they had a lineup that was so difficult to get out. Back in the days of Carlos Baerga and Albert Bell. They could play.
Well, they would
score a lot of runs.
Had Manny Ramirez when he first came to the major leagues. He had Big Jim Thome. Robbie Alomar was on those teams. Sandy Alomar Jr. on those teams. Boy, were they good. Just didn't have enough pitching to win the World Series. They got there Lost that heartbreaker to the Florida Marlins in 1997, losing in 7 games. Ouch. Drew Stubbs just chewed up. And how about the play from Zach Cozart? It's one of the fastest players in the game, scooting up the line, and Cozart all in one motion. Bare hands throws, got him, and he's slow to get back up.
Man, oh man, what a play. I mean, Drew Stubbs gets sawed off, as you said, but still, it's going to take a remarkable play by a defender to get him out. Barehanded on the run, throwing. Does a face plant after he throws that ball to first base. Man, that's a dandy.
Well, apparently he's all right. That's good news. Brandon Phillips giving him a hard time over there. Brandon saying, I do that stuff all the time. Come on, get up. Jimenez quickly behind, no balls and 2 strikes.
Well, that's the kind of defense this Reds ball club is playing. I mean, you look around the infield. I mean, Cozart's got 3 errors along with Votto. Frazier and Phillips each have only 2. I mean, there's just not a lot of holes out there.
That has been certainly a staple these last 3 years, where the Reds twice have won the National League Central Division Championship. Granted, some of the names have changed, but my oh my, their defense day in and day out. If there's any team in baseball better, we've not seen it. Coming up later on in the game today, we'll have our Miller Time moment. Leake with 4 strikeouts, first time through the batting order. Struck out Bourne, leading off the Cleveland first inning. Two consecutive starts where Leake has not surrendered a single run, but that's falling right in line with the rest of this Red starting rotation. My oh my, you talk about good. The last 12 games, the starters an 8-0 record and an ERA 2.05. And of course, that's come down here today with 2 scoreless frames and hoping for a third with 1 more out to go in the third. Johnny Cueto not getting the win yesterday. Bullpen unable to hold a 3-run lead after Cueto left. In the air, left center field. Chu on the run. He's got it. Oh, he bobbled it and then caught it a second time. Couple nice plays here. One from Cozart and the juggling act from Chu.
On May 27, 1967, Army Sergeant Charles Clinton Fleek of Cincinnati gave his life in Vietnam. On this Memorial Day, I remember Sergeant Charles Clinton Fleek.
We remember so many. Wish we could name every single one of them, of those that have served this country and died for this country on this Memorial Day 2013. And we certainly thank all of you who have served, are serving, and will serve in defending the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. Chu to lead it off. He homered leading off the game, and now trying the surprise of the afternoon of putting down a bunt after he whacked one of the seats to left center for the game's only run. Chu now with 10 home runs. That's the most on the club. Fouled away, nothing in 2. He has 2 more home runs in Votto and Phillips, 3 more than Jay Bruce. Two and 2. Of course, the story well documented. Chu, the last 5 years with the Cleveland Indians after originally coming up with Seattle. That went into short center field, and coming in to get it born 1 out. You know, a lot of times a guy gets traded and he'll have less than rosy things to say about the organization that traded him away. Nothing could have been further from the truth regarding Chu's departure from Cleveland. In fact, after the trade was announced, he wrote a long letter to the fans of Cleveland, bought a full-page ad in the Cleveland newspaper thanking the fans for their support, not only for him on the field, but for welcoming his family here in the United States and living in the Cleveland area. He also thanked their general manager and their ownership group for giving him the chance to become a major league player. Classy move all the way around. Both sides, the team and Chu. Part of that 3-way deal also involving the Arizona Diamondbacks. Cozart walked his first time up. Ahead in the count here, 2-1. 2-2. Jimenez 3 strikeouts, 2 walks. He's allowed 2 hits and a run, and he's allowed another hit. Hooked into left field. Cozart, another guy starting to find some holes.
Right, he's getting a lot of hits lately. Zach Cozart is. He was one guy that went 4 for 4 off a very fine pitcher in Matt Harvey out of the New York Mets. First time that had probably ever been done against Harvey. Getting 3 hits, much less 4, but he finds a hole on the left side right here. He gets a high breaking ball. You know, there was a time that Dusty Baker looked at Zach Cozart and said, you know, he's struggling so mildly. He thought about getting him out of that number 2 spot, but he stayed with him in there. Eventually going to get good pitches to hit in front of Votto.
Swing and a miss, but the ball gets away from Santana, and Cozart will advance on to second base. That'll be a pass ball on Santana. That was the same pitch that Votto struck out on his first time up, and he was very upset about it. Well, you stand there. Votto has not moved since that ball went in the dirt. Standing there with his right foot. Now he does for the first time. Looking down at the ground. You can almost see him just grinding mentally here. After striking out his first time up against Jimenez. Fastball that time off the plate, 1-1. Runner in scoring position for Votto. Breaking ball nowhere near the strike zone. 2-1. Three and 1. So now a chance to knock in a second run of the afternoon. Reds got a home run from Chu to lead off the game. Came up empty once more.
Now that was looks like a little slider right there that he throws and just takes a little bit off of it, and that's what fools Joey Votto. Could have been a splitter, looked like a slider spin, but it's sometimes hard to tell.
In the air, left center field. But room out there for Bourne. Tagging and coming on to third is Cozart, and he's in there safely. 2 are out in the inning. MLB.com at bat is the #1 source for live baseball everywhere you go. Text the words "at bat" to 31826. That's 31826, or visit Reds.com for more details. So now a 2-out run scoring chance for Brandon Phillips. He bounced into a double play that started with a ground ball to short, ending the first inning. Pirates have jumped in front in the opening inning. They're now in the 4th. Facing Justin Verlander and the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers, the division leaders in the American League Central, over these Indians by a 1.5 games. Reds and the Pirates are tied at 31 up and 19 down, a 1.5 games behind the Cardinals in the National League Central going into play today. Cardinals will be scheduled to play in just a little while, although it is raining, we understand, in Kansas City. That's a nice block right there by Santana.
Well, especially given the fact you've got a runner at third base right here. This ball gets by him, and that is a splitter. You see the spin on that, the ball coming out of his hand. That's textbook.
Brandon had a good pitch to hit right there, and 1-1, and fouled it over the screen and out of play. Major League Baseball set up this entire week to have the natural rivals all over baseball get together. I think this is a nice setup the way the schedule is done this year. A lot of people like to complain about the schedule, but here during this week, starting on this Memorial Day, Orioles and the Nationals playing, Reds and the Indians, Dodgers and the Angels, Cubs and the White Sox. I mean, right all over baseball. Giants and the A's. And some of the more unnatural rivalries, I guess you could call it, like the Pirates in Detroit, Texas and Arizona, Atlanta and Toronto, an odd one. It used to be Atlanta and Boston because of the connection of where the franchises used to play. That one swung on and fouled out of play. But 4-game series by and large across the board. 2 in one city. Most of them very close to one another.
I think you want to limit. I think baseball wanted to limit the number of games that you play against your natural rival, quote unquote, so that they play as many games against the same interleague competition as possible. They're trying to level the playing field with the interleague play.
1-2 to Brandon. Laid off that breaking ball outside.
So, I mean, if you're the Mets and you're playing the Yankees every year and you're playing them 6 games, that doesn't seem as fair as another team in your division playing a rival who's not nearly as fearsome as the Yankees. So you limit it to 4 games instead of 6, and then everybody else plays the same number of teams interleague against the other division.
Get off the end of the bat, but foul. And hanging around for something better is Phillips. St. Louis playing a Kansas City team which came out of the gate pretty well, but they have been stumbling around ever since. They've lost 5 in a row. They've lost 9 out of 10. Cozart, the runner at third with 2 away. Reds trying to add to a 1-0 lead here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. And it's in the air and playable. Foul ground for Swisher. And that's all for the Reds in the 3rd. They leave a man at 3rd. We move to the 4th. 1-0 Cincinnati. Fox Sports Ohio, Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro, and company. Kent Dreamweaver, the producer of that program. And it's brought to you by Ray St. Clair Roofing. And will be coming your way tomorrow at 6:30 from here at the ballpark. Right, time now for our AT&T trivia question. Since 1970, who are the only 4 players to hit a walk-off home run wearing a Reds uniform and an Indians uniform? That's a good question. 4 of them, and believe me, all 4 of them familiar names to Reds fans. That one banged into right field by Kipnis to begin the Cleveland 2nd inning. That's their 2nd hit off Mike Leake. Reds with a 1-0 lead. You know, very quickly, just want to recognize we received a beautiful letter from a lady named Jennifer Schneider. She's here in the ballpark with about 100 other folks. Her sister, Michelle Mockbee, was killed last year in Florence, Kentucky, the day after Memorial Day. She was 42 years young, left behind 2 daughters, Carly, who's now 11, Madeline is now 8. Michelle was a huge Reds fan. In fact, 3 days before she died, she attended her last Reds game, was sitting, had great seats, and folks at work had Diamond Club seats. She had never been down there before, grew up as a huge Reds fan, and one of her sisters got to know Bronson Arroyo quite well. In fact, she cuts Bronson's hair, and Bronson's been a big supporter of their family, as have the Reds. And a lot of the folks wearing little red wristbands remembering Michelle and Mockbee. So our thoughts and prayers to that family. I'm sure this is a very tough day for them. And over 100 of them at the ballpark today. And especially bless those little girls who don't have their mom in around anymore, tragically losing her 1 year ago. One and 0 on Cabrera, who doubled down the right field line his first time up. A ball and a strike, and that was after just missing on the pitch prior to the double to right. A home run on a laser down the left field line that was caught by the fella sitting right next to the fair pole in foul ground. One and 2. Really got to keep an eye on Kipnis. Indians already have one stolen base in the game. That was Cabrera stealing third. Kipnis is their leading base stealer. He has more stolen bases than Michael Bourne. And Bourne 3 times led the National League in that category. Kipnis 10 out of 14. Did he go? No on the appeal down there at Cooper.
Well, that meant to be just a little courtesy throw over right there, but it was very close because the ball was right on the spot where you applied the tag.
Two and 2 to Cabrera. Struck him out. 5 of those in the game for Mike Leake.
Mike Leake really keeping the ball down. I mean, see the grouping of the pitches and where he's at, and that's made the big difference for Mike Leake this year. I think he's pitching just so much more relaxed. Once Dusty Baker gave him a vote of confidence when there was all sorts of speculation that Tony Cingrani would take his place in the rotation and Leake would head to Louisville. Dusty Baker said, we're not even considering that. I think at that point Mike Leake took a big sigh of relief and decided to pitch the way he can.
Now Swisher, who ended the first inning with a runner at third, on the ground and off the glove of Phillips into right field. Wow, he was thinking about throwing to second before he picked it up, and he'll be charged with an error.
Probably an error of trying to do too much with the pitch. You're exactly right. He was thinking about scooping it quickly, getting it up, and being able perhaps to get that, at least that lead runner. But he just didn't get down there far enough. You rarely, if ever, see Brandon Phillips do that.
So now Carlos Santana with runners on the corners and 1 out. Leake gonna have to try and pitch around that error by Phillips to keep this 1-0 lead intact. Major league average at 50% with a runner at third and less than 2 men out, and Santana far below that number. Strike 1. Cozart cheating up the middle. Frazier playing even with a bag at third, which is a bit of a surprise. And now the 0-1 to Santana. Driven hard into deep left center field. And back to get it is Xavier Paul. That's a nice play by Paul. Chu is not going to get there. Sac fly RBI by Santana, and the error comes back to bite Mike Leake and the Reds. It's a 1-1 game. That ends a career-high tying scoreless inning streak for Mike Leake. 17 consecutive scoreless innings comes to an end, and really to no fault of his own after the year. Of course, the other side of all that is Brandon Phillips has saved all these pitchers a pile of runs through the years with his defensive play at second base. So every now and again, Brandon, like everybody else, going to have a hiccup.
Thanks, Paul.
Oh, and 2 to Reynolds, who struck out his first time up. Reds wearing those camouflage hats, so too are the Indians. The Reds will benefit welcome back veterans. They're going to sell those after they play in the game today to help that veterans organization. 1 and 2 on Reynolds. It's a great idea.
It is a great idea. I mean, there is such a demand for, well, for game use equipment, for anything major league license, and you get something unusual like that, those things will be gone in no time.
1 and 2 to count on Reynolds. 1-1 game. We're in the 4th. And now 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, the Reds play Reynolds a little bit in a kind of a funny way. The center fielder and right fielder are very deep, but Xavier Paul on left is rather shallow. And maybe the thought is that if Reynolds hits a ball in left field, it's either going to be at him or over his head. If it's over his head, chances are it's in the seats.
Broken bat. Knocked down by Phillips. Still throws out Reynolds, and that'll end the inning. A key error, however, by Phillips leads to an unearned run. Reds and Indians after 3.5 are tied at 1.
Marine Lance Corporal Adam Peake was supporting combat operations in Afghanistan when he lost his life. The Florence, Kentucky native and graduate of Thomas More College was on patrol when he stepped on an IED on February 21st, 2010. Today, I remember Lance Corporal Adam Peake.
As we all do, and so many others on this Memorial Day. Great to have many from the military out with us at the ballpark. 1-1 game. Big defensive shift put on Jay Bruce. You have Kipnis out there in shallow right, and that's a shortstop.
Yeah, we have not seen all that many dramatic shifts like this year against Jay Bruce. Of course, everybody has their own advanced scouts. Some teams scout only by satellite TV. Others send personal scouts to ball games.
They moved Reynolds after that 2-0 pitch even further over towards the second base bag. That is a third baseman, the lone infielder on the left side.
I guess, you know, so it opens up the door for a potential, not debate, but conversation. I mean, Jay Bruce is a home run hitter, but I mean, if you lay a bunt down the left side, you walk to first. Do you take that opportunity of not making it out, or do you sit in there and try to do what you're supposedly paid to do, which is hit home runs?
That was a debate we had frequently with Ken Griffey Jr. All the teams used to put the shift on him. Same thing with Barry Bonds, going back a number of years. And there's ball 4 to Bruce, so he gets on to begin the inning. That'll be the 3rd walk handed out by Jimenez. And let's answer our AT&T trivia question. Since 1970, the only 4 players to have game-ending home runs wearing a Reds uniform and an Indians uniform. 2 of them in uniform today. Brandon Phillips and Shin-Soo Choo. The others, familiar names indeed. Aaron Boone and Mr. Buddy Bell.
We just saw David Bell in here over the weekend.
First pitch swinging, a routine ground ball to short, and that'll be a double play. 2 are out, nobody on.
Second double play of the game so far for the Indians defense.
Now Xavier Paul. He singled into left field his first time up. '70th pitch coming up for Jimenez. We talked about how he rarely pitches deep into games anymore. Not to say he couldn't do it today, as he's ahead 0-2.
Well, the reason he rarely pitches deep into ball games is because he runs his pitch count up. You see 70 pitches. Here he is only in the 4th inning, which actually is pretty good for Jimenez based on what he's done this year.
Tigers have tied the Pirates 1-1. There you get a look. Batter's face, pitches per batter, second highest in the American League with over 4 per batter, but he takes care of Paul on 4 pitches after getting Frazier on 1 pitch. We go to the 5th. We're tied at 1. Toyota, let's go places. By JTM Food Group, let's create great dishes together. And by USAA, dedicated to those for whom every day is Memorial Day. USAA, we know what it means to serve. Beautiful day to be outside doing anything you so choose. Virtually no humidity, temperatures in the low 70s, a nice light breeze, picture perfect for the first of 4 between these two major league franchises in the Buckeye State. The Indians and the Reds tied at 1. We begin the 5th. Jumping on the first pitch and hammering it foul is Michael Brantley.
Now he's done a lot of first pitch strikes with the fastball, and Brantley's a good fastball hitter, so he's going up there being very aggressive to let it rip. But from a Reds perspective, the good thing about Leake at his first pitch fastball is that he's located him very well. I mean, his location today is excellent.
One and 2 to Brantley. Brantley bounced out to Cozart, his only at bat today. 1 run, 3 hits for the Reds, 1 run, 2 hits for the Indians. Only Reds error led to the only Cleveland run, and that was from that man. Brandon Phillips handles this one nicely, and that's out number 1. Every game for the foreseeable future now till Friday will be right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Tomorrow night, Matt Latos against Zach McAllister. Then both games in Cleveland right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Wednesday night, Thursday night, and then the opener of the series in Pittsburgh. Saturday is a Fox Network game. And then Sunday, the finale of that Pirate series. That's a big weekend series.
It sure is.
Pirates are playing so well. Well, in fact, the Reds, the Pirates, and the St. Louis Cardinals. 3 of the best 5 records in all of Major League Baseball inside the National League Central's top 3 teams. Only the Texas Rangers would be the team outside of that. Rangers playing .640 winning percentage baseball. You've got the Reds and the Pirates at .620. St. Louis, the best record in baseball, at 32-17. They beat Clayton Kershaw yesterday to win that series at Dodger Stadium. That was a big win for the Cardinals.
Well, anytime you beat Clayton Kershaw, especially in Dodger Stadium, you've done something. I'll tell you, they keep having setback after setback and injuries to their starting rotation, but still are able to figure out a way to put wins on the board.
Two and two the count on Drew Stubbs. Robbed of a hit on a great play by Cozart his first time up, and shoots one this in the right field. And Stubbs a roller for a base hit. Well, today Reds fans came in from Preble County. The Republican Party rode in on the Fan Express to Reds country right here at Great American Ballpark. Fox Sports Ohio and the Reds would like to thank Reds fans who have been part of this great program. Nice to have them with us here today. Nice seats they have there, and enjoying the Reds and the Indians. Asking Jimenez to put down a bunt, pulls the bat away and misses ball 1.
You know, this is a situation when you've got a speedster like Drew Stubbs at first base. Why wouldn't you just steal him right here and let Jimenez bunt or have him pull it back? Because right now the Leake is more concerned about throwing a good pitch in there. Votto's trying to get a big jump to try to field a ground ball bunt. And Stubbs, you would think, would have a chance of getting a bigger lead.
Jimenez able to advance a runner with a sacrifice. Votto throwing on
and my
Phillips.
point on that is, and then if you can get them to second base without giving up an out, then you can have Jimenez attempt to bunt him to third. I mean, when you've got the speed of Drew Stubbs, that's different than just an average fast guy.
So here comes Michael Bourne for the third time in a game. 0 for 2. Is struck out, hit a long drive to left center field that Chu caught. It popped out of his glove in the air, and he had to catch it for a second time to end the third inning.
Well, this is one area where the speed of Drew Stubbs will cause an opening in the left side of the infield for the Reds. You've got to have Zach Cozart really hugging the second base bag right there, and you open up that side between third base and short if Michael Bourne wants to slap it over that way.
Now, see, there's another situation, Chris, where I think it's interesting to sit around and debate at this point in time. Now, you and I have talked many times the number of ways you can score from third as opposed to second base. But if you're shifting your defense for a guy who's capable of spreading the ball around the field, and we know Michael Bourne is more than capable of doing that.
And especially,
you know, are you really, at the end of the day, are you really winning that cat and mouse game by moving your defense around for a guy who's at second with already 2 outs in an inning? Because any ball that gets through, you're not going to throw Drew Stubbs out at the plate. Well, Cozart was right there anyway, and the inning comes to an end. They hit a man left. It's coming to bat. Mesoraco leaked in Chu in a 1-1 game. To our friends from Toyota, the first 30,000 fans will get the first ever Matt Latos bobblehead,
complete with ink.
That'll be the Reds and the Rockies. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS. Mesoraco struck out with 2 on his only time up. And he is behind right here and right now 0-2. Jimenez throwing the ball pretty well. It's been a little wild. He's walked 3. But not too bad.
Well, if you followed him in his career, this is a completely different Votto Jimenez than you saw just 3 years ago. I mean, when I spoke earlier and spoke of his fastball averaging 96, touching sometimes 100 miles an hour, he's nowhere close to that anymore. The Indians have tried, though, to change his delivery a little bit to get him more consistent. So he's not trying to reach back and throw 100, but he's trying to have better location. And one of the things that they've tried to do is to speed up his delivery. We did a very interesting side-by-side when it came to Homer Bailey and his delivery years ago, and then now he sped up his delivery about 1.5 seconds out of the full windup to get the ball to the plate. And they've done the same thing with Jimenez.
Hook to the left side, and Cabrera will throw out Mesoraco. Chris, you do a lot of work with youngsters, junior high, high school, college pitchers, and working with them to hone their pitching mechanics and their stuff. The common belief now, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've heard from a lot of other coaches, you rarely see it taught where pitchers now are doing what Jimenez does by throwing his hands way up in the air and back over his head, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an individual thing, but you try to keep things as simple as possible. I go back to what Robin Roberts, my college coach, told me, that he said that he'd have a college pitcher and then the kid would go away and pitch pro ball for a year or two and then come back, and his delivery would all of a sudden simplify because he had to pitch more innings and more pitches, and you wear yourself out doing big gyrations like what Jimenez is doing.
Well, we did that side by side with Homer Bailey when he first came up to the big leagues. He did that, and now he keeps everything compact, close to his chest, his face when he goes into his windup.
You know, the loss of velocity and the more the reliance on the off-speed stuff for the Votto Jimenez kind of mirrors what's happened to Tim Lincecum. Lincecum almost over the exact same period of time, starting in about 2010 when he was throwing the ball very hard. Now he's lost a little bit on his fastball, relies more on off-speed stuff, and you know, they're still getting guys out, but not the way they once did.
2-2 to lead. Reds only 3 base hits. They had a hit in each of the first 3 innings. And Leake is gone on strikes, and it's 4 of those today for Jimenez.
Jimenez is one of those guys that is really hard to chart because he throws 3 pitches that are all in the same speed range, and they all seem to drop. His changeup, his splitter, his slider, they all go down, and they're all anywhere from 82 to 84 miles an hour.
Well, you looked at me like I had 3 eyes a minute ago. They just played that Gangnam Style, and I all of a sudden had it going a little bit. You looked at me like I was crazy.
I thought that I recognized that. I wasn't sure.
That's the music that Shin-Soo Choo, Korean native, has elected to have them play when he walks up to the plate. I'd love to see him break into that. You know he can do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe next time he's our post-game guest. We get Jeff Picoro to go down there, and they both break down.
Well, you know what? I think what we do, baby steps. We get Picoro and Jim Day to do it first, and then we'll ask Mr. Chu to show them how to probably do it the right way.
Probably the most logical approach right there.
Yeah. Slow roller to the right side, and Jimenez picking him up, mowing him down. We've played 5. 1-1 game. The Reds and the Indians.
summary. Shin-Soo Choo got it all going in the bottom of the first inning as he went off-pitch against Silvano Hernandez to put the run on the board, and the Indians came right back after Mike Leake was able to go right through the Indians lineup. Striking out 5 so far. The error by Brandon Phillips set up the runner at third base, and a sacrifice fly to deep center field, and Xavier Hall played the only run down for the Indians. Tied 1-1 as we go to the top of the 6th. That's our Honda game summary. Get a great deal from your Cincinnati Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Here's your Honda game summary.
Nice. Kipnis, Cabrera, and Swisher. This was a group that started the run scoring 4th inning. And Kipnis with a single to right, went to third on the year by Phillips and scored on that fly ball by Santana. 1 run, 3 hits, an error, 3 men left for the Reds. 1 run, 3 hits, no errors, and 3 left on base for the Tribe. 1-1 to Kipnis. Breaking ball is strike 2. Two and two to Jason Kipnis, and a breaking ball is swung on and fouled back out of play. Detroit 3 runs still batting in the bottom of the 5th inning with a 4-1 lead now on Francisco Liriano and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Reds will see Liriano on Saturday. That didn't miss by much. Been a tight zone today by Paul Schreiber.
It is a tight zone, and I'll tell you what, Mike Leake, when he misses, he has not missed by much at all. He's kept the ball down brilliantly.
Popped up and playable, it appears, in foul ground for Frazier. That's the way we begin the 6th.
Now now's our time for the Head and Shoulders whiff of Old Spice, and it happened back in the 4th inning when Asdrubal Cabrera, who had already doubled off of Mike Leake, steps up for the 2nd time, but this time Mike Leake begins to work a little differently. Change up right there, gets him down and away for a strikeout. The 5th strikeout of the afternoon for the Reds right-hander, our whiff of Old Spice.
And here comes Cabrera for the 3rd time. As Chris mentioned, a double, a stolen base in the 1st inning, and then that strikeout you just saw in the 4th.
Keep this one in there. It's in there. Thank you.
Very few night games around Major League Baseball. Most of them will be played during the daytime. And there's a rocket right at Phillips. Boy, that Cabrera, when he hits a ball, that makes a very loud noise coming off his bat.
You know, we first saw him play, Tom. He was a tall, skinny kid. He had a nice swing, but you're ever really going to wonder what happens when he grew into a man. And I mean, he's gained weight. I mean, he's a big, strong guy right now. And you're right. He's got some serious bat speed.
Good player. Just hadn't played on some good Cleveland teams, so even though he's been to a couple of All-Star games, he doesn't necessarily get a lot of publicity, a lot of notoriety, but he's a good player, really good player. Now to Nick Swisher. He hit the ground ball that bounced off the glove of Brandon Phillips, leading to the unearned run against Leake in the 4th inning, ending a string of 17 consecutive scoreless innings for the Reds right-hander. And that ties a career high from Mike Leake. Trying to start a new one here and get it to 2 innings with a 1-2-3 6th. And ahead of Swisher at 1-2. Cardinals still in a rain delay. They were scheduled to get started about 25 minutes ago in Kansas City, where it is raining. Vaughn swinging his swisher. 6 strikeouts for Lee. Reds have Cozart, Votto, and Phillips coming up in a 1-1 game. He's right here at Great American Ballpark, June 3rd, 4th, and 5th, presented by Orbit. Wednesday, June the 5th, we remind you the first 30,000 fans get that Matt Latos bobblehead. So come on down to the ballpark. This is a very brief 5-game homestand that will come to an end tomorrow night. Then the Reds come back home, where they will have an extended stay. They're home for 6 against Colorado and St. Louis. They leave for 4 and then turn around and come right back at home for 7 against Milwaukee and the Pirates. Cozart to lead things off. He has walked single so far, and his ball drilled down the left field line, and that is a fair ball into the corner. Cozart wasn't sure if it would be able to stay fair, and it does. So Cozart starts the inning with a 2-base hit.
Now 8 hits in his last 5 games for Zach Cozart. I mean, he just drops the barrel right there and rips it down the line. And I mean right on the line.
Wow. On the outside of the line. Look at Jimenez leaning in, and then when the fair signal was given by the third base umpire Eric Cooper, and Eric hearing it from Terry Francona right now.
I mean, how do you argue that if you're Terry Francona, because you don't even see where the ball lands from the dugout unless you've got a monitor somewhere that you can look at. And if you did, we wouldn't even bother to go out there, because it looked like to me on our slow-mo that it kicked up some chalk. There it is.
It's fair ball. That's a great shot from our camera crew. And our whole gang in the truck, our director Roy Alfers, our producer Josh Hall, and company. Matt Sigafus, our tape AD, Lauren White, our font AD, and our entire crew.
You know, the other part of that, now Francona knows he's not going to win an argument like that, but what he has done is he may have stemmed the momentum of a leadoff double a little bit. instead of Jimenez getting the ball right back, and now he's got to face Joey Votto. Now you kind of slowed things down, maybe taking the energy out of this little rally the Reds have going.
Well, Votto, the batter, runner at second, is a go-ahead run, and he hooks it to the right side, so that'll advance a runner. Obviously, Joey wanted to knock the run in, but at least a productive out. Votto has had tough at-bats today against Jimenez. But he'll be congratulated, as he should be, in that dugout for getting Cozart down the line. And now Brandon Phillips against a drawn-in infield will try and give the Reds what would be their second lead of the game. In the air, right center field. Preparing for the throw is Stubbs. They're going to send the runner. Here comes the throw to the plate, and it bounces away from Santana. Cozart scores. They get him on, they get him over, and they get him in. Reds lead 2-1.
That was a pretty nice throw by Drew Stubbs. It was just a little bit on the first base side. But it would have been interesting, real interesting, to see what would have happened if Carlos Santana would have caught the ball first and then swung around. He would have been able to get Zach Cozart no problem. A lot of things going on in the head of a catcher when you're in a position to get that ball like that.
So now Jay Bruce hammered down the right field line, foul. Bruce has struck out and drawn a walk. Cozart is double to begin this inning, leading to the go-ahead run. Straightaway center for Bourne. But the Reds score and take a 2-1 lead as we move to the 7th. Today, USAA would like to pay special recognition to all of our service members at home and abroad.
Disorders like multiple sclerosis and lupus. Join us in the fight against autoimmune diseases. Donate now by visiting Join us now and donate by visiting hopkinsmedicine.org/Fox.
Well, what a day. First time we've seen a cloud and a few of them drifting over the mostly sunny blue skies above. 2-1 Reds lead. We open the 7th inning, and Mike Leake going to work on Carlos Santana. Santana sac fly to drive in the only Indians run in the 4th inning. You know, rarely do you talk about manufacturing a run in the middle part of your batting order. But boy, how many times do you see when you watch enough baseball games over the course of a year where you'll get a leadoff double in the middle part of your batting order, but everybody trying to drive in the run, and you end up leaving a runner at second base, and he never moves after starting that inning with a 2-base hit. But Votto and Phillips getting the job done there in the Reds' 6th inning.
You know, it wasn't all that long ago, Tom, that we would lament. I think the Reds went through months without getting a sacrifice fly. Do you remember that? I mean, it was almost ridiculous.
Well, didn't Adam Dunn go an entire year without a sacrifice? That's almost impossible for a guy batting in the middle of the batting.
And he wasn't the only one on the ball club that did that, but it seems like the situational hitting can be so important in a game where the runs and hits come at a premium, and today's a perfect example of that. The Indians did it. They got an advantage with an error that sent a runner to third base with 1 out, scored on a sacrifice fly. Those are the situations where strikeouts kill you. Now, strikeouts aren't that big a deal normally because there are some very good offensive teams out there that strike out an awful lot. But it's when you strike out is the key.
Nice play by Cozart on a soft line at the beginning inning. Nobody going to catch this one off the bat of Mark Reynolds. That's his first hit in 3 at-bats.
In fact, a lot of people who looked at this Indians ball club, you know, filled with strikeout artists like Mark Reynolds, Drew Stubbs, Steve Swisher, or Nick Swisher, thought, well, these guys are going to lead the world in strikeouts, but it's not the case. The Indians are 4th in the major leagues. They came into this ball game with 248 strikeouts as a team. But the Reds are number 6. They came in with 241 strikeouts. So, and they both score a lot of runs.
Breaking ball in there, strike to Michael Brantley. That is the 89th pitch thrown today so far by Mike Leake. All hands on deck today for that Reds bullpen after being really very, very short yesterday, wanting to stay away from LeCure and Broxton and Chapman. Well, those days are tough to swallow when you've got to stay away from the 3 hammers down in your bullpen. And not to say that your bullpen shouldn't be able to hold a 4-1 lead with 6 outs to go, because that's not asking too much. But yesterday wasn't one of those days.
Well, it was also, you know, a lot of people will look at that and say, well, it was a bullpen meltdown, but the Reds had opportunities to blow that game open and pick up, you know, garbage runs in the meantime that would have made it more than just a 3-run lead, and they weren't able to do that. So the blame you have to share around a little bit.
On the ground, they will turn this one to end the 7th inning. Middle of the 7th inning, they will stand and stretch. Reds leading 2-1, and on this Memorial Day across the United States of America in 2013, we will keep it right here for the singing of God Bless America.
And women of our armed forces, as well as those who serve to protect in our local police and fire departments. At this time, please help us honor these brave men and women and all our veterans of service, and welcome Technical Sergeant Felita LaRock of the United States Air Force Band of Flight as she leads us in the singing of God Bless America.
God bless America, land that from the mountains to the prairies to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home.
Ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you please remain standing and turn your attention to the video board for a special message being played at all major league ballparks at this time.
On Memorial Day, join the children of America's fallen for the National Moment of Remembrance. At 3 p.m., wherever you are, please pause for a moment.
Fans, at this moment, we are joining the nation in pausing to reflect on the sacrifices made by the men and women of our armed forces as we celebrate our freedom on this, our Memorial Day holiday. Let us pause to remember the lives that have been lost protecting these freedoms with a moment of reflection and silence.
Bless America, what a beautiful rendition that was. But all over Major League Baseball, 3 o'clock Eastern time, and that's why we were in commercial break. A moment of silence all over baseball and all over the country to remember those who served our country and died while serving for our country on this Memorial Day. Votto Jimenez takes a ball to begin the bottom of the 7th inning. Only one time has he gone 7 this year. 93 pitches he's thrown, and his season high in a game was 103, which he has hit twice. Frazier, Paul, Mesoraco. The Reds leading 2-1. Trying to keep it fair, and it hooks foul. Well, you got to believe Mike Leake's going to have a chance to go back out there in the 8th inning. Of course, some of that may depend upon what happens to the trio batting in front of him here in the bottom of the 7th inning. If the Reds have a chance to tack onto this 2-1 lead, perhaps then they hit for him. But his pitch count very manageable, less than 100 so far. He's got 8, 9, and 1 in the batting order coming up. That would be Stubbs, a pinch hitter for Jimenez, and then Michael Bourne. And there's ball 4 to Frazier to begin the inning. That's 4 walks by Jimenez.
Yeah, the second time in this ball game that he has led the inning off by walking the leadoff hitter. Last time it was in the 4th against Jay Bruce. Now he's rolled up 2 ground ball double plays. That has been the best friend of Votto Jimenez this afternoon. Something similar happened back in the 2nd inning with 1 out. Frazier reached on a walk, and then Xavier Paul hit a ball to the left side on what looked like a hit and run. You wonder if maybe, well, never mind.
That ball hammered to straightaway center field. Bourne with a spectacular grab in front of the wall. And Frazier's going to come all the way back to first base quickly. Boy, Xavier Paul hammered that pitch. And what a play by Michael Bourne.
Well, the ball really jumping today, and you better get a good jump on it, too. He did get a lot of that one. In fact, Xavier Paul thought he may have had enough to get it out of here. But right up against the wall does Michael Bourne on the run, a leaping, grabbing. Oh, we've seen some good defense here this afternoon.
We sure have. Mesoraco struck out and grounded out to short. Just in case the Indians have activity in their bullpen, the left-hander is Rich Hill, the right-hander is Brian Shaw, and both of them are ready. They began throwing while the Indians were still batting in the top of this 7th inning. Actually, they have changed left-handers. That looked like Hagedorn, the left-hander. Yeah, they had Hill up originally. One 1-0 to Mesoraco. Breaking ball low and away. And that was the 100th pitch of the afternoon for Jimenez, who's only allowed 4 base hits today. So far, anyhow, not one of the 4 walks that he has issued has come in to score. Two and two. Mesoraco clearly not happy with that call. Walking well out of the batter's box and now making his way back into it. Sellout crowd on this Memorial Day. A beautiful weather Monday afternoon in Cincinnati. Every game on this homestand has been a sellout. If you weren't with us earlier, it is hard to believe. You think back especially to the decade of the 1970s and all the great teams. Some of baseball's greatest teams ever, as Mesoraco has gone on strikes. But since moving down to the riverfront, leaving Crosley Field during the 1970 season. So going back to 1970, this is only the second time the Reds have sold out 4 consecutive home games. Not one time did it happen during the 1970s. Not once. It happened in 2004. Of course, back in those days, you needed a pile of fans to sell out a game. 55,000 was the seating at Old Riverfront Stadium, but nonetheless, it's been great seeing all the folks coming down to the ballpark during this homestand. One more game to go tomorrow. Leak will bat with 1 on and 2 men out here in the 7th inning. Frazier led off the inning with a walk. Biggest play in this inning, without a doubt, the play made by Michael Bourne.
Now he's had a chance to strike up a long conversation down there with Nick Swisher, 2 of the more talkative players in the major leagues right there.
Right about that, Doctor.
Fighting for airtime.
Both of them are trying to catch their breath. They've been talking so much. 1 and 2 on Leak. Dusty Baker clearly was not very happy with some of his players and all the conversation going on prior to the game. And Travis Wood pitched the other night. Gone swinging is Mike Leake, and that'll end the inning. So Leake now will focus in on getting back on the hill, protecting a 1-run lead.
Marine Corporal Christopher Tyler Warndorf of Burlington, Kentucky, died August 29, 2006, while conducting combat operations in Iraq. Today I remember Corporal Christopher Tyler Warndorf.
Certainly appreciate All the help in recognizing those who have served and passed while serving our country from so many of the Reds here today. Our friends from the USO, part of Reds Live before the game with Jim Day and Jeff Pecoro. Hope you're having a great Memorial Day weekend. Mike Leake on the mound, set to begin the 8th inning.
Yeah, Mike Leake has only pitched to 4 batters over the minimum through the first 7. He's been very stingy out there. The Indians and the Reds each have only 4 hits apiece. Right now he's got a 2-to-1 edge, and he's got Drew Stubbs leading off for the 2nd time in 3 at bats. So a very key at bat right here. Leake versus his old teammate Drew Stubbs.
Stubbs a very popular player among the Reds. Easy going, always quick with a smile. Drew Stubbs, and a lot of good friends, a lot of close friends, guys he grew up with in the minor leagues, played alongside of. Became very, very close, in particular with both Jay Bruce and Sam LeCure, among others. Ball 1 to Stubbs.
He's overall a good guy,
really
hard
good
worker.
guy.
I mean, they kind of became the lightning rod over some of the Reds' frustrations, especially when the offense would not go well and Stubbs would strike out. A lot of times the fans would take it out on him. Although here in this Indians lineup, rather than being at the top of the lineup where they have Michael Bourne as a leadoff man, they've got Drew Stubbs down the number 8 spot today, giving him some speed at the top and the bottom.
Well, Stubbs could be 2 for 2 were it not for our John Morrell hot dog play of the game in his first at bat in the 3rd inning, a broken bat roller. But the way he runs, and look at that play by Kozar. Stubbs singled into right, his 2nd time up. Strike 3 called after falling behind 2-0. Leak right back with 3 in a row, and that breaking ball catching the inside corner is 7th of the game.
I think this is the cutter that has been very effective for Mike Leake on the day, and he just freezes Drew Stubbs. Boy, has Leake been down in the zone or what? I mean, he has just lived in that area, about 1 inch above the knee and about 3 inches below.
Well, were it not for the lone run, which was an unearned run in this game today, Leake would be working on 21 consecutive scoreless innings. Today's the first time in a 3-start span where he has given up any runs. '98th pitch of the game, Jason Giambi.
Now, what Leake has done this year is changed his repertoire just a little bit. He's throwing more changeups this year than he has in the past. He's throwing more curveballs rather than sliders.
Straight away center field, and Giambi has come off the bench to tie the game with a solo home run to center field. Tell you what, this guy might be getting older and older, but Terry Francona continues to say he can help our team in so many ways, and that's way number 1.
Well, he's a solid citizen and a good teammate, and he jumps all over a changeup. I'm not sure if he was expecting that pitch or Leake just got that up just a hair. Now, this was a no-doubter as Giambi just goes right out the front door. Well, that's good plate coverage because that pitch was not all that bad of a pitch.
And perhaps right there an illustration of the Reds missing Sean Marshall, and maybe Dusty Baker having to manage a little bit differently. Granted, it was a strikeout to begin the inning, but that's a hammer off their bench. You got Bourne coming up next. We may have seen Marshall, but what an outstanding job made by Mike Leake today. Gives up 2 runs, 1 earned in 7 1/3 innings. And our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen summons Jonathan Broxton. The bat of Jason Giambi, and it ties the game at 2. Leak removed, and on comes right-hander Jonathan Broxton, and he'll face Michael Bourne. And Broxton has been no sure bet on a regular basis, as he was pretty much every night after joining the Reds last year.
Well, his earned run average is still hurting from that one bad outing he had back in early April against the Pirates. He pitched 2/3 of an inning and gave up 6 runs. When you're a short reliever like Jonathan Broxton, it's going to take a long time to get that earned run average down to respectability. The only home runs he's given up this year were in that ball game. He gave up 2 of them.
Two and one to Michael Bourne, and Broxton the pause and a pitch. Bouncer. Oh, that's a nice pickup there by Votto. That's that ball sometimes you see just flatten out right under the glove, and the next thing in a blink of an eye on a ball like that, Bourne standing at third.
I got it? You mean I got it? It's kind of like a scoop. Now Joey Votto thought he dragged his foot across the bag after he had the ball. And he did. He went back to touch it again for good measure. Votto, one of the best in the league in the scoop category. I think he's something like 15 for 15, leads the National League in that. And that is
a category?
Yeah, it's a scoop kind of a play right there.
Well, I tell you what, God bless the human being that is keeping track of the scoops around Major League Baseball.
Now, the radio partner, Jeff Brantley, might be keeping track of a different type of scoop.
Yes.
As in an ice cream scoop.
Yes. I have never heard of that scoop category until you just said that.
No, believe me.
Well, holy Moses.
Well, the folks that provide us with our statistics, Stats Inc. or Stats LLC, are the ones that keep it.
All righty.
If you know someone in the organization, you can get that number.
Here's a 1-1 pitch coming to Jason Kipnis. Threw a fastball at 95 right by him. Kipnis does have 8 home runs. Tied for second most in this Indians lineup behind the 12 hit by Mark Reynolds. A Jason Giambi pinch hit home run has tied the game. We're in the top of the 8th inning. Reds have the top of their order coming up in the bottom half of the 8th. Struck him out, now to retire the side. Good work by Broxton taking care of Bourne and Kipnis. But the home run from Giambi sends us to the bottom of the 8th, tied at 2. Riverboat deck at Great American Ballpark. Gets right above the center field backdrop. Get the panoramic views of the ballpark, the city, the Ohio River. 2-story semi-private outdoor party area. If you'd like to book your party or group outing there, or many other choices around the ballpark, call the Red Group Sales Department at 513-765-7600 or visit reds.com/groups. Nick Hagedorn taking over on the mound in his 2-2 game to face the top of the order. 2 of the 3 batters left-handed batters. Chu and Votto with a righty Cozart sandwiched in between. Chu has really struggled against left-handers this season. Only 7 hits and 51 at bats. That's a 137 average. And in the 51 at bats, he has struck out 14 times.
Hagedorn just recently called up when Chris Perez went on the DL yesterday. He's been up and down a little bit, but he pitched up here his last in the middle of May. Chu has seen a fastball and a big curveball.
Fastball up and in. Got a little giddy up on that fastball.
He's got a pretty good arm. There's no question about it. The question mark about Hagedorn right now is how many strikes will he throw and what are the quality of those strikes. Young man with the University of Washington. Teammate of Tim Lincecum there. Actually, it was Hagedorn and Lincecum who combined to throw a no-hitter for the University of Washington against Santa Clara back in 2006. It was that college's first no-hitter in about 28 years. It's a pretty good 1-2 punch in college, wouldn't you say?
Not bad. Drive of the game came in the top of this inning, or at the top of the ball game, I beg your pardon. That's when Shin-Soo Choo led off the game with a home run in the left center field, putting the Reds ahead 1-0. Indians tied the game in the 4th. Reds took the lead in the 6th. Indians tie it in the 8th. Breaking ball up and in. 2-2 to Choo. Chu trying to get aboard to begin this bottom half of the 8th inning. Three and 2. Cozart, a perfect day, waits in the on-deck circle. He's walked, singled, doubled, and scored. Chu 1 of 3 overall in the game. His other 2 at bats, he's fly to center and bounced out to Kipnis at second base. And that one finds a hole in the left field, a base hit. So now the go-ahead run aboard to begin the bottom of the 8th inning.
Boy, that is just a dandy bit of hitting by Shin-Soo Choo. He hangs in there through a long at bat, and he finally takes him the other way with a base hit. They got him bunched around to the right side, shortstop over very close to the second base bag.
Now do they ask Cozart, who's swinging a hot bat of late, to put down a bunt? Indians wondering the same thing.
And that's why they throw to first base, and Cozart gave it away.
Santana wants to make sure that everybody's on the same page here. Votto has been a .286 batter against left-handed pitching so far this season. Well, the meeting with Santana and Hagedorn ends, and another begins with Hagedorn and Kipnis. So is that a decoy by Cozart? Reynolds at third baseman, a couple of steps in on the grass at third. Chew a hearty lead over there. And no sign of a bunt, and the runner will advance as it gets away from Santana. And that looked like a pass ball. I'm not sure that ball ever went in the dirt, did it?
It didn't sound like it. It sounded like it either went off his glove or his shin guards.
Pass ball. That's 2 of them today by Santana.
Yeah, bad form.
Well, now do you change up your thinking a little bit?
Why
it's
would
one
you?
thing to ask Cozart to advance a runner to second base in making the first out of an inning where you need a hit to get the runner in.
Well, his job really is to get that runner to third base. The problem with him facing a left-hander is that he's going to get a breaking ball breaking inside on him, and it's tough to get that ball to the right side.
And he lays it down perfectly. Boy, you can't roll it out there any better than that. So they do indeed ask him to bunt to get that go-ahead run down to third. Perfectly done by Cozart.
You've got to force the third baseman to field it. There's nobody else who can come close to that bunt. So Cozart's had quite a day. A walk, a couple of base hits, a successful sacrifice. And now the middle of the Reds' order to take care of business, hopefully with Votto and Phillips coming up. That is Mickey Callaway.
Coming up after this game and after every Reds game here on Fox Sports Ohio, we'll break it all down. Reds Live brought to you by Kings Honda in the Kings Auto Mall, KingsHondaUSA.com. It's a long meeting, a second one once again after the pitching coach Callaway had gone back. Kipnis again with Santana and Hagedorn. The infield will come in. And Votto with a chance to give his team a lead with a runner at third and 1 out here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Aroldis Chapman cranks it up in the Reds bullpen. Well, this is where you're paying guys the big bucks and batting them third in a lineup to get it done for you here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Votto today is 0 for 3. Ball 1. Well, this will be the final batter, one would figure, either way for Hagedorn. They've got the right-hander ready in the bullpen for Brandon Phillips next. Votto trying to bring in Chew from third in his 2-2 game. Came up empty on a huge swing and a miss. Votto choking way up on that bat. 2-1.
Votto's been always very good against left-handers, and the main reason why is that he's committed to hit their breaking ball.
In the air, left center field. Drifting back to the wall, Bradley, goodbye.
Well, while everybody in this ballpark is on their feet celebrating the home run by Joey Votto, we'll look at our Mazda pitch by pitch. You got an even count right there. And you did not go with the breaking ball at all. It was all fastballs, and Votto gets it up. It goes long, and it is gone. Our Mazda pitch by pitch results in a 2-run home run by Joey Votto. And this place all of a sudden is electric.
Boy, that's clutch right there.
You can feel it coming.
That's big league. That is big league. Not only gets that runner in, but he was in scoring position in that batter's box. And a 2-run home run to left center field. Reds have a 4-2 lead. And now right-hander Brian Shaw on to face Brandon Phillips and misses ball 1. Phillips with a sac fly RBI back in the 6th inning. 0 for 2 in the game. That might be the last time in the next 3 days that we see the Indians in a like situation pitch to Votto. Because these two teams have 3 more days of getting together.
Well, it does open up the book for discussion. Of course, at this point, it's all second guessing. But the things that go through the manager's mind are, all right, you know, I've got a lefty-lefty matchup. I've got a guy that throws pretty firm and Hagedon. And maybe he can keep Votto in the infield or maybe even get a strikeout. But the other part of the argument is, well, if you walk Votto and then you have Brandon Phillips up there with 1 out, runners on the corners, you do have a chance of getting Brandon Phillips into a ground ball double play. He's hit into 1 already today. But the tough thing is, how do you get Votto and Phillips out separately back to back? And that's, in my mind, is the toughest thing to do.
It's not like Terry Francona doesn't know all about Joey Votto. I mean, he might have sat out a year managing, last year working in the broadcast booth, where he did a number of Reds games. But of course, with interleague play all the years in Boston, Reds and the Red Sox got together a couple of times during those years.
Well, at some point you have to manage with a hunch, don't you? With the feel.
Strike 3 called on the inside corner. Last time I checked, that's the 2nd out of the inning. Shaw goes racing to the dugout. Hear Hill about that in a lighter moment in a kangaroo court of some kind.
Yeah. He was a player that was traded from the Diamondbacks.
Yep.
Ended up over here with the Indians in the trade that sent Didi Gregorius to the Diamondbacks. Didi Gregorius, minor league shortstop for the Reds.
And you asked about it earlier. Jay Bruce putting down a bunt. He does, and the throw is airmailed by the pitcher Shaw. So not only did Shaw not know how many outs there were in the inning, a bunt that was basically right back to him. And he commits a throwing error.
Well, they've got the shift on Jay Bruce, and if he puts it over here on the left side of the infield, nobody's going to field it. But as it turns out, he bunts it right back to Shaw. And this ought to be just a nice, easy play, except he lollygags the throw, throws it over the head of the first baseman.
Frazier takes ball one outside. So Chapman is armed and ready down in the Reds bullpen. They get the 2-run home run here from Votto after a leadoff single by Chu. A perfect bunt by Cozart. You know, you look back on the inning and everybody naturally will talk about the home run. But you get the leadoff single by Chu after he fell behind in the count to begin the at-bat. But one of the biggest plays in this inning is that pass ball by Santana.
I looked it up. Santana had only 2 pass balls on the year before today, and he's been tagged with 2 today. 2 is among the lowest in the league.
You know, the Reds were not asking, at least early in that count, to Cozart to put down a bunt. But the pass ball sent Chu to second base, and then, as we suspected they might, they put the bunt play on. And Cozart able to bunt it up the third baseline, getting the sacrifice, and Chu down to third in front of the Votto home run. That wind really blowing out now towards left center field. It's been a light breeze all day long. A lot more oomph behind it right now. If you're looking ahead to the Cleveland 9th inning against Chapman, they have switch hitters Cabrera, Swisher, and Santana all due up. So 3 right-handed batters against the southpaw Chapman. One and 2 to Todd Frazier. In the air, and this should end the inning. That wind is really blowing, and out there to get it Cabrera, and that's set. Chapman coming on to try and nail it down. The Joey Votto home run snaps a 2-2 tie. We go to the 9th, and the Reds trying to lock it up. Cincinnati Children's Hospital ranking 3rd in the nation on the U.S. News and World Report's 2012 honor roll for best children's hospitals in America. and by Chevy. Hurry into the Chevy Memorial Day sale, going on now until June the 3rd. Right along the banks. Moorline Logger House, and just on the other side of that, you're looking into Great American Ballpark. Change out in left field as Derek Robinson takes over out there for Xavier Paul, and now getting the ball on the mound. Aroldis Chapman.
Yeah, the ballpark really rocks when they bring Chapman in. Each of his last 4 appearances have resulted in saves.
Broxton stands right now as the pitcher of record for the Reds after finishing off the last 2 batters in the 8th. Hagedon, the pitcher of record for the Indians after giving up the single to Chu and the 2-run home run to Votto. Told you Cabrera, Swisher, and Santana all switch hitters. And it's 1-1 on that 96-mile-per-hour fastball.
With a win today, the Reds go 17-6 in the month of May. They would go 6-2 on Mondays. They've not dropped back-to-back games. They lost yesterday, but they've not dropped back-to-back games since April 30th and May 1st.
And of course, on the heels of yesterday, really a stunner. It is rare to see, and not just when it's LeCure, Marshall, Broxton, Chapman, but really anybody in that bullpen, whether it's Simon, Andrusik, whomever it may be, Hoover. Rarely ever see the Reds lose a 3-run lead that they have going into the 8th inning of any game.
Well, especially given the fact that they were playing against a team that had not done that nearly all year long. In fact, the Cubs, I think, going into yesterday's game were 0-25 when the opposition scores 4 runs or more.
Big pitch here. Strike 3 called. Cabrera cannot believe it.
Well, our box tracks likes it.
Cabrera thought he had managed a walk to begin this inning. Instead, it's strike 3 called, and now Swisher 0 for 3 in the game. Reached on an error by Phillips back in the 4th inning. Struck out his last time up. That one thrown all the way to the backstop.
We had one like that yesterday that resulted in a warning.
Oof. And then that one high and tight to Swisher. And look at that Cleveland bench. Everybody on the top row screaming out at Chapman. And the umpire understandably going to give Nick Swisher a minute or 2 to try and get it back together. I mean, you talk about rattling your chain. You see one of those fastballs up around your chin. Then you paint 100 miles per hour. You read his lips. Don't do that. Over and over. Well, he jumps all over that fastball and a liner. Let's see if there's any exchange between these two coming back. Chapman saying something, Swisher saying something, and they both move on. Well, I tell you what, Swisher's showing you something there.
Well, you're not kidding about that, man. He hangs right in there. He turned on a 99-mile-an-hour fastball after seeing one go to the screen and then being dusted by the other. Not intimidated one bit.
Of course, that's really the MO on Swisher. He is one tough cat.
Gave him a long line of tough swishers.
Swinging a foul ball back. Well, that could add a little intrigue to this 4-game series.
Certainly could.
Because clearly there are some upset people sitting down in that Cleveland dugout right now.
Remember, it was an opposite field home run by Cabrera last year in Cleveland that set Aroldis Chapman on somewhat of a save slump.
How about that? Slider at 88.
First breaking ball of the afternoon for Chapman.
Well, big fellas, he's fired up today. He is throwing gas.
Wants a slider. Now, if you're Carlos Santana and you run the count 2-2, and he just was way high and outside with the slider on the last pitch, here comes the Chiefs.
Chapman trying for the game's final strike, final out. You've got one of the real power hitters in all of baseball standing in the on-deck circle. Don't want to see Reynolds with a man aboard here in the top of the 9th inning. Strike 3 called on a slider to end it.
Forget it. A backdoor breaking ball after seeing 99 to 100 miles an hour. Chapman in the 9th inning is perfect. A couple of strikeouts, and the Reds come away with a very hard-fought victory here today.
So 4-2 the final, and the first of 4 between these in-state rivals, and we're back with more from sold-out Great American Ballpark. Reds go to 32-19 on the year, trying to gain ground on St. Louis in the National League Central.